meeting. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Antine, and I want to welcome you to CAOA and to the Colorado Aeronautical Board board meeting. It's nice to be able to kick the meeting off with our board meeting. As is our tradition, please stand. We're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I officially call to order the January 27th, 2026 meeting of the Colorado Aeronautical Board. As you can see, we wanted to see how many board members we could squeeze into a Volkswagen. So if you get knocked off over there, just find your seat. So first order of business is amendments to the agenda. Mr. Elaine, do we have any amendments?
We do, Mr. Vice Chair. We have three, actually. As you can see, Commissioner Semi is not able to attend today's meeting, so we no longer need to consider centennial state and local grants separately. So accordingly, that grant will be added to consent agenda item 12.1, and item 12.2.1 will be deleted. So that's the first amendment. Second one is also grant related, given the voluminous public comment that we've started receiving just last Friday regarding the proposed grant for the Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport, and you've all seen copies of that public input. We are going to defer consideration of that grant to a later date, so it's not going to be part of the staff's recommendation to you all at this particular meeting. And then lastly, given that we have a limited amount of time for this lengthy agenda and the need to stay on schedule to keep Dylan and the rest of the CAOA crew on schedule, we'll be moving public comment to the end of the meeting after item 17, proposed calendar. So those are the three amendments we have for you.
Okay, very good. Any other amendments to the agenda?
Quick comment on I'm supportive from a time perspective of moving the public comments to the end, but if there's anybody, maybe we could have a public comment in the beginning if anybody wanted to comment on any of the consent or non-consent or the consent items for us to consider, because there are some actions taken. But if it's non-consent, then maybe we ask the public to move that toward the end. Is it possible to do two public comments, or is that where we risk the time?
I think we risked the time.
Okay.
We promised Dylan we would finish, so and we'll make sure that everybody who signs up has an opportunity to comment.
After it is then.
All right, great. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. And with that, if anybody here in the room would like to offer public comment, if you would please see Caitlin to sign up and get your name on the list so you can be appropriately recognized, we'd appreciate that.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended? Second. All in favor? Okay, great. Agenda item 3 is something that also traditionally we do at the beginning of the year, our first meeting, and that's to elect officers who will serve the board for the coming year. And the members that the officers that we'll elect will be chairperson, vice chair, and secretary. So every year, Barbara Stockton, the Assistant Attorney General, leads us through that process, which she's going to do again this year. But before I hand the mic over to her, I just want to make one comment. It's pretty typical in boards like this for when a position becomes open for chair that the vice chair at least moves into that position. Now, I'm not trying to be arrogant to believe that I might be nominated for that. I've been an honor to serve as vice chair. But if that would happen, I would respectfully decline that nomination. You know, when Kent Holsinger term ended and at the end of the year, that left an opening. And in my case, I think I'm not trying to say that I'm long in the tooth, but I think there's an opportunity for us to elect officers that have a bit more runway than I do. My term ends at the end of this year. So with that, I'm going to again, politely, respectfully decline any nominations. So that said, it's yours.
Thank you. And before we do the election, I'm going to turn it over to Dave for a moment because we have a new board member.
We do. Thank you, Barbara. So we have actually three reappointees and two reappointees and one new board member joining us today. Earlier this month, Governor Polis reappointed Bree Lehman to a second term, 3 years in this go around. And then Commissioner Summy from Arapahoe County was also reappointed to the Eastern Plains position. But we're also pleased to welcome Gigi Dennis from Monte Vista, who replaces Kent Holsinger as our new Western Slope representative. So maybe Gigi, you could tell us a little bit about yourself. We know you from our work with you and your airport roles in the San Luis Valley, but we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, David, and thank you all of you for the nice greeting. I'm really excited to be part of this board. There's a little bit of a surprise, so I hope that I can bring some depth and excitement and work well with my fellow board members. I served in the state senate way back when. Half of you weren't alive yet. And Don was appointed under the Bush administration to run USDA rural development. To Governor was appointed to fill out the term as Secretary of State to the private sector. And met my husband, moved back to the San Luis Valley, was the Alamos County Administrator. I got to know David and a few of you here in the audience, run the San Luis Valley Regional Airport. And most recently, I've served 4 years as a city manager in Vista. So we have a small general aviation airport in Monte Vista as well. Poke at Steve just a little bit. He told me he's been aviation arena. I was the one that sponsored, took on a fight, DIA, and raised the fuel tax that would be given to rural airports. Generally, was given to, and it was a fun little battle, and they learned a lot. And the airports got a little bit more money out of the fuel tax. So maybe it's time for that one again.
I don't wish you bring it up.
Okay, let's do it today anyway. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Gigi, it's wonderful to have you on the board. I'm sorry I missed that agenda item, but it's great to have you. And we're looking forward to 3 more years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Barbara, it's all yours.
All right, great. Thank you. Again, my name is Barbara Stow, and I'm a Senior Assistant Attorney General, and I represent the Colorado Aeronautical Board. Pursuant to CRS 4310-104, the board elects its officers, and the officers for this board are a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. And so it's my job to facilitate the election process. So we're going to start with the chair position, and the responsibilities of the chairperson are to preside over board meetings, to represent and, when appropriate, speak for the board, to provide leadership to the board and the division, to call when they deem appropriate special meetings, and pursuant to CRS 24-64023, executive sessions of the board, and to create such committees and subcommittees comprised of members of the board as they deem appropriate. Do we have any nominations for chair?
Barbara, it's my honor to nominate Angela Padalecki for chairperson of CAB.
And Angela, are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yes, I am.
Do we have any other nominations for chair? Okay. Is there a motion to close the nominations for chair?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we're going to start. All in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. So now vote on the chair nomination. All in favor of Angela Padalecki for chair of the board, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Congratulations. You are now the chair of the board, Angela. And we can either, let's go through the other two positions and then we're going to turn it over and you're going to be in charge.
Yep.
All right, prepare yourself. All right, you've got about 3 minutes. All right, vice chair. The responsibilities of vice chair are to assume the duties and responsibilities of the chair in the event of the chair's unavailability. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
Barbara, I'd like to nominate Daniel Malia, and I think he might need a campaign speech, but I think, seriously, I think he would be a great candidate for this just because he's got time, kind of like Mark described, he's got time left on the board, but he knows airports, he knows airplanes, and he knows business. So I think he'd be a great choice for this.
Right. Daniel, are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yes, I am.
All right. And I guess before that, I should have asked, is there a second on the nomination of Daniel Malaya?
Second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing the nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All in favor of Daniel Malaya, vice chair of the board, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Congratulations, Daniel. You are now the vice chair of the board.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to the final position of secretary. The responsibilities of the secretary are to assume the responsibilities and duties of the vice chair in the event of the vice chair's unavailability. Do we have any nominations for secretary?
I nominate Trimmy Saswell.
Do we have a second? And are there any other nominations? Trimby, are you willing to accept the nomination? Do we have a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing the nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. And all in favor of Trimby Zabo for secretary of the board, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Congratulations, Trimby, on becoming the secretary of the board. The officer positions of the board for the year have been filled. Is there a motion to close the election? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing the election, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Close the motion. The elections are now closed. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mark and also to Angela.
Thank you, Barbara. Well done. And it's been an honor to serve as interim chairman for all these past 14 minutes. It's even more of an honor to pass the gavel over to Angela. So, Angela, your meeting, your airplane.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Now everyone can. Thank you. I will do my best today. Mostly Robert's Rules of Order, maybe a little bit of Bob's, but I will do my best. So I think our next agenda item is the annual conflict of interest statements.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. So in front of you is a personalized conflict of interest form for you to all fill out. This is per the CAB governance documents and the 2009 internal audit. It on the back is where you will list any perceived or actual conflicts, and then they will be recorded for the year. We do this every January for the CAB. So it's for this calendar year. We'll do it again next calendar year. Any questions? You don't have to do them now. I will just collect them today before the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Our next action item is action item number 7, the approval of the meeting minutes. I get a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Now I'm skipping over.
Yeah.
No, it's board member reports. So I will just start on my left, Steve.
Well, congratulations. And I'm going to ask that your first act be for our next meeting. Gives me a little more space on the side. I'm going to keep this brief. Just first, thanks for having the board meeting here again at the CAOA event. Really makes a difference, adds value to the people that attend. The only other thing I have really is just a note for Denver International Airport. We had a ribbon cutting in January for the SIA space. SIA is really it's a team that has a lot of programs developed related to encouraging young people to find careers in aviation and to develop workforces. I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not, but just wanted to throw out for August 27th. I'd like to maybe, if we can work it out, host the CAB meeting at Denver International Airport in SIA. It's a great space. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Gigi, do you have a report today?
I'm glad to be here, Madam Chairman.
Wonderful. Fastest report ever. Bree?
Congratulations on your appointment to serving under you. As far as I don't have much to report, the FAA did release its draft transition plan to unleaded fuel. I am very proud to say that the state of Colorado was mentioned with our HB 1234. I think that the change is coming, and I know everybody in this room, there's been no sort of shortage of angst about that transition, but the state of Colorado is really leading this charge. And I think everything that we've done up until now and some of the actions taken by various entities and people in this room have really set a standard that I think the rest of the country will inevitably follow, since we've been so out in front of this. So I just wanted to say thank you to all the involved parties that are here and people who are not here. I think it's a really exciting time that Colorado's been able to be so out in front of this change. And I look forward to continuing to, I think, lead the country on this transition. I realize it's still going to be a bit of a rocky road, but I'm very proud of us as a state and as an aviation community that we were able to get out in front of that. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to read it, the plan is on the Federal Register and it was sent to everybody. And I'm happy to send it your way if it's too hard to find. So just let me know. That's all for me.
Thank you. Mark?
Well, thank you again. It's wonderful to be here at CAOA. This is something I think, I certainly look forward to for the rest of the day and tomorrow. The exchange of information and learnings is wonderful. Something happened on December 20th that I think we should note. And that was the first operational use of the Garmin Autoland occurred and in first operational use in the world. And the aircraft landed over at Rocky Mountain Metro. So at 23,000 feet, a King Air B-200 had a decompressed or had a loss of pressurization, which caused the Garmin Autoland feature to automatically trigger. The crew put on their oxygen masks and decided that this happened as the aircraft was departing Aspen, again at 23,000 feet in mountainous terrain, very bad weather. The crew decided to allow the system to complete the flight, which it did very, very accurately. And so, again, when we look at progress in technology and the application of that technology to make flying safer, here's a great example of something that happened in our state. Again, with a wonderful outcome and an opportunity to prove that these kind of technology improvements can happen. Steve mentioned the opening of the CDC at Denver. You know, I want to make a comment about Denver in general. 2025 was a big year for the airport. The final numbers aren't out, I don't think, right, Steve, but somewhere between 82 to 84 million passengers. There are more nonstop domestic routes at Denver Airport than any other in the country. But here is an airport that's north of 47 billion in economic benefit to the state, you know, and certainly a lot of the work that we do is a result on this board as a result of the funding that is directly then attributed to the operation of the airport. I think one of the things that there's a lot of good things that happen there that go unnoticed. You know, one of them, and Steve, I'm sure you're proud of this, is that that Denver achieved zero discrepancies on their FAA Part 139 safety inspection for the 7th time in 9 years. You know, those kind of things. You know, not only is a great economic engine, it's a very safe airport, and it's operated by great leaders. You know, like the gentleman sitting down the hallway. So again, just a footnote about that. And then, as I mentioned in December, I want to say again, Wings Over the Rockies will open scholarship applications for young people ages 15 and a half to 18 in February. So watch that website. Last year, the museum, with funding from the Ray Foundation, gave out 26 $12,000 scholarships. And so I don't know what the exact number will be this year, but it'll be in that range. So if you know, if you see an airport rat hanging around who's a young person at your airport that wants to learn to fly, you know, here's a great scholarship, great opportunity for that. And those applications are online, will be online sometime in February. So please let them know about that and encourage them to apply. And Madam Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you. Trimby.
Did you want to give one too?
I'll go last.
You'll go last. Okay.
Hi, guys. My name is Trimby Zabo. I'm the pilot organizations representative for the state. I just want to see a show of hands on who has their pilot license, who has a PPL. Excellent. If you guys just want to look around the room, see who all that is. It's a wonderful thing. Colorado has so many pilot organizations and associations. I'll read through them. I'm going to keep my report for the pilot organizations quite short. Mostly I talk about Pilots Association, Colorado Pilots Association, Colorado 99s, and Women in Aviation Mile High Chapter. So if you guys haven't seen the website for CPA, Colorado Pilots Association, in a while, it's been updated. It looks great. We have a representative from CPA here. James Zucker's here in the house, right there. Wave your hand. He's trying to reach out to all of you as an airport representative chair for CPA to meet you all. So you have somebody aside from me to come to and talk about pilot organizations. They just had a meeting January 5th at BJC. The next meeting they switched between Centennial and Rocky Mountain Metro will be February 2nd at Rocky Mountain Metro, or at Centennial, my bad, at Centennial. They have a practice area page for the pilots who are training to learn, the student pilots learning to fly, and people getting like biennial flight reviews, whatnot. The website is really great for also listing articles that have recently come out. Right now, there are 4 new articles that just became released that are on that website. And just so you know, the CPA has that pilot training area overlay with ForeFlight on their website. So for those of you who are pilots, it's a great opportunity to use that, especially for noise abatement, because right now everything's about noise, and making sure that the pilots who fly are not flying super low. They're following the flight patterns. They're doing what they need to do to be good citizens as pilots, especially on approach and departures from the front range airports, most importantly. So that overlay is wonderful because They work with the flight schools. The CPA does not create that overlay of flight training areas. They work with the flight schools to create it. So it's based on flight school information, which is also based on what the air traffic control towers tell them they can do. And that's based on what the FAA can tell the control towers what they're doing. So it basically boils down to the FAA, then the control towers, then the flight schools, then the pilots. So I just wanted to make that a really good point to definitely check out that overlay. And it's on ForeFlight, so if you're using ForeFlight, that's wonderful, it's already there. I don't like leaning over so much, Kevin, so it's okay. Just pull this a little closer. Let's see, Walt Barbo. Walt Barbo, there's a scholarship in his name officially out. It's due February 15th. It's going to teach a young person how to fly. Wonderful news and really great for Walt Barbo. If you have the honor of knowing Walt Barbo, this is the Walt Barbo Flight Training Scholarship. Also Emily Howell, some of you might know Emily Howell. I had the privilege of knowing her. Hetty knew her as well very closely. And she also has a scholarship coming out through CPA, also due February 15th. You can find that information on CPA. So I was talking about scholarships. Every scholarship that you can possibly think of, no matter what your age, if it's your neighbor who's 50, who is divorced, has 2 kids, 1 cat, is about to move to Florida, then move back, just whoever it is, it doesn't matter. There are flight scholarships for you, okay? There are flight scholarships. It doesn't matter really who you are. Anybody can to fly. Pilot. You don't have to be a young person. Okay, so all of those scholarships are listed on the Colorado Pilots Association website. Okay, let's see what else we got. Women in Aviation. They just had a book club meeting last night. It's about a Thunderbird. The book was about a So if you know anyone in aviation, encourage them to join Women in Aviation Mile High chapter or Colorado 99s. If they want to get really into meeting women and networking with the fellow aviators, book clubs, whatnot. Fleming's, Airways Classics. Gretchen Hahn is going to give her presentation on flying in New Zealand. And Gretchen Hahn, if you happen to know her, has been a huge aviator her whole life and has been in aviation with Piper her whole life. Yeah, so you have an opportunity to meet people like Gretchen Hahn as well and meet Thunderbirds in person, a female Thunderbird who wrote a book in person. So Colorado Pilots Association, I have information also for a bunch of organizations, Civil Air Patrol, Wings Over the Rockies, Colorado Aviation Business Association, the FAA safety team. Any of these people reach out, I will connect you. There's EAA groups all over the Front Range and Colorado Commemorative Air Force, the Colorado Agricultural Aviation Association, the Colorado Seaplane Association, Angel Flight West, and the Colorado Aviation Historical Society. So all of those, I have networking information to give you if you to contact. I'm happy to share those for any of those associations or organizations. And for that, welcome to the board or welcome to Chair, Miss Chair or Ms. Chair. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Trimby. Kevin?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations. For just 3 quick things. First, welcome, Gigi. I was not familiar with your name or your background, so I stalked your LinkedIn yesterday. What I heard, truly an impressive background, and we are tremendously grateful that you accepted this position. So thank you. Second, another note of appreciation. Thank you to the CAOA for hosting us, particularly me. As the community rep, I probably know the least about aviation as just about anybody in the room. So this is a great learning and networking experience for me. During the breaks this evening, please do seek me out. I would love to connect, share my experience from some of the things that I've heard from the community to Trimby's point earlier. It's really all about noise. So happy to relay some of those messages. Happy to hear from you about the great advances in aviation that you are responsible for. And third, I had the opportunity to work with the division earlier this month on the grant applications for the education and workforce development. Very much appreciate that opportunity. A couple things for those applicants that did not receive funding or had their funding reduced, please do not be discouraged. There were a lot of applicants. Continue to work with the division. The staff is there. It's wonderful to hear about not just the grants, but some of the scholarships as well. The division is available to you for those resources, so please reach out. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Daniel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations, by the way. Gigi, congratulations also. I look forward to getting to know you here with your position on the board. Daniel Melia, I'm the one of the Eastern Colorado reps. Try to be pretty brief with mine, but there's a lot of stuff going on with these airports out on the Eastern Plains. A lot of changes in management also, which can be kind of interesting at sometimes. So got a new manager out at Ray, Corey Clark. I've known him for a number of years, done some flying with him. He's going to be a great manager out there in Ray. They've got a lot of projects going on, a lot of new hangars. Just finished up a taxiway rehab last year. So a lot of exciting stuff going on out there at Ray. Yuma has a new city administrator. That's one of those airports that is managed by an appointed voluntold person, I guess is the right term. He not an aviation background, but I've kind of established a little network with some of these small airports that don't have aviation people as their manager to try to help them out and try to navigate some of the things. And of course, the division is awesome with that as well. So Eric Duthie out there in Yuma is one of the new ones. Akron's finally getting their new terminal building going. I believe they haven't started quite yet on the construction, but everything was awarded for the contractor and everything. Sterling, Charlie out there has got a new airport or a new city manager. They're working on some pavement maintenance coming up. Fort Morgan, new manager out there, new FBO, Mike Bone out there in Fort Morgan, working on an apron project this year. Let's see what we've got. Lahana's got a mill and overlay coming up. Had a good conversation with Brett out at Springfield, and they've got a lot of stuff going on at Springfield. I know you guys were bragging on them, at the last meeting, and I like to do that too because they've been working on for a number of years trying to get some of these projects done, and so they've got some apron rehab, a couple of phases of that done, runway panel replacement and repairs coming up, plus new markings on the runway, and new card reader out there that they love. Haven't had any issues, which was not the case before they got that in. It was kind of a cumbersome deal trying to get fuel sales out there. So they're in a lot better position than they were, a couple of years ago. So believe that's all I've got out there. We've got a lot going on out at Burlington. A lot of projects in the works, finally trying to get our entrance road replaced, which has been an adventure with a non-aircraft movement area. Trying to get grant money is exciting always. Working on a fog seal on our runway this year. So if we can get that all accomplished this year, it's going to feel like a brand new airport. So we're excited about that. Also, an airport I haven't talked about much, the Platte Valley Air Park out there, under new ownership, and they are working really hard to really update that place, get it exciting again. It's a fantastic location for the Front Range traffic to go out and play with a little less traffic out east. So I'll be talking about some of the things that they've got going on in future reports. So, Madam Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you. And I'll keep mine very brief. Thank you again to the board for the honor of being chair. I will do my best. And I want to echo sentiments welcoming Gigi. You had, Kent left big shoes to fill, but we're completely confident you'll fill them well. And we're all excited to work with you. I wanted to take a moment to thank Dave for all of his work to make sure that we're getting public comments, timely is an understatement. I mean, immediately. And we received quite a few, and I want to make sure the public knows that those have been passed on to the board immediately by Dave. And I wanted to recognize him. I know there were some big football games this weekend, and I received quite a few emails during those football games. So thank you. Last, just big picture on the Western Slope. we'd love for it to snow, but visitors are coming anyway. Hopefully the snow will come and even more visitors will come, but it's a really busy time of the year for the commercial airports, and many of the GA airports on the western slope, accommodating that ski traffic. And then there are some big construction projects that everyone's preparing for as well. At Grand Junction Regional Airport, we're getting ready to put out the big bid package for the full paving for our runway projects, our big runway replacement project we've been working on. And then Aspen has had a couple of solicitations already, and they are preparing to do a similar type of runway project and a terminal project next year. Is the plan right now. So I will talk to Diane and see if she can report out to the board at an upcoming board meeting, because there's a lot going on there. I want to make sure she has an opportunity to do that. Otherwise, I will go ahead and conclude board member reports, and we can move into the approval of our meeting minutes. Our agenda item number 7. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Great. Is there any further discussion or corrections? Okay. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. Next, we have airport and industry updates. I think first we have Dave Elliott from Meadow Lake Airport. Is Dave here in person? Okay, great.
Well, this isn't so much about Meadow Lake. This is about the Colorado Revised Statute 43-10-113, safe operating areas around airports. I've been using that statute for the past couple of years, trying to get El Paso County to develop a compatible land use plan around Meadow Lake. We haven't been successful with that yet. I got a third-party call in October that county planning had administratively approved a wind turbine 2,500 feet off the center line of our runway. Ironically, that morning I was coming up to Denver, and as I drove by, they were already offloading the piers, the posts for the towers. So we immediately filed with the court for an injunction to stop construction on it. It was administratively approved by county planning without a public hearing. They didn't see any reason to turn it down between a private property owner and another private rancher. Although the statute requires them to adhere to, well, it says shall adopt and maintain land use protections for the properties involved with Part 77. Part 77 of the federal regs, as you know, is the safe and efficient use preservation of navigable airspace. Around airports, that's the imaginary surfaces. 43-10-113 includes safe operating areas around airports. So it's not just the hard numerical parts of Part 77, but also the safe operation of the airport. As a professional pilot and flight instructor, we're required to adhere to and teach stable approaches. And that means we can't be doing slalom runs on the final approach around hard objects or things that are put into the air that could affect our safety of flight. So this was approved in June. We filed a court. I'll do a full briefing on it after it goes to the court. But I think it's a no-brainer for us because we do have a Part 77 obstruction evaluation from the FAA that says it does penetrate our Part 77. It will affect our instrument approaches, our circle to land, our visual approaches. It also invalidates our PAPIs, our visual approach lights to the runway, which are already at 3.5 degrees because of the sloping terrain coming down to that runway. We can't be doing runs around a tower at the same time. So are there any questions that I can answer at this time? And from what I understand, we're not the only airport that's facing this right now. We'll be the test case in court.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have comments from Swift Fuels. Dave, I'll defer to you because I want to make sure that that person's online.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Madam Chair. It does not appear that Chris DaCosta has joined, but I think for all of you real quickly, I can capture the conversation I had with him a couple of weeks ago. I think you all know Chris. We've heard from him at CAOA previously. He's the CEO of Swift Fuels. It's currently developing the 100R unleaded avgas in addition to the existing unleaded 94R. Mike in here somewhere that is currently available at Centennial. He was going to let us know that they are making tremendous progress on receiving ASTM approval for over 1,000 different aircraft make models for the 100R fuel, likely in the next few months. First half of this year was his expectation. So that's certainly going to be great news for the transition. And as we've all talked about a lot lately, that the availability of a safe fleet-wide 100 octane fuel that works in the overwhelming majority of aircraft will probably be the inflection point that really sets off that transition from 100 low lead to unleaded avgas. So I'll keep you posted, Madam Chair, if he joins back in, but I think that kind of quickly captures what he would have shared today.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Next, and for those who may have missed the beginning of the meeting, we have moved public comments to the end of the board meeting in the interest of time and out of respect to the Colorado Airport Operators Association and maintaining the schedule of their conference. So that will again be at the end. So now we are on to agenda item 10, the director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things. One, I want to start off by apologizing for the fact that you all look like you're jammed into row 35 on a 757 while Barbara and I are over here in business class. Apparently one of our grants needs to be to the hotel to buy some new risers or additional risers. So I'm sorry you're all jammed in there. My apologies for that. I would say it's actually a little bit good that we are actually missing one board member. I think, as you all know, House Bill 1235 also added two board members, actually, but it also added a representative, a non-voting ex officio member from the Colorado Department of the Public Health and Environment. That position up until last month had been filled by Clay Clark with CDPHE, but at our December meeting, he announced he was retiring from that agency and would no longer serve in that role. So as of today, they have not reappointed a replacement to Clay, but I expect that will happen here very shortly. So I'll keep you posted on that. I would like to give a big shout out to Gigi. In the decade that I've been working for the division, I've never had a case where the governor has appointed a new board member on a Friday afternoon and their first meeting is the following Tuesday. So sorry you got thrown right into the deep end. Nothing like wait until the last minute, but we're glad you're here, Gigi. So look forward to working with you. Tomorrow I have a long update provided, so I'll keep this one short. But what I really want to do right now is introduce Angelica Cassio. If you would stand up, Angelica. She joined us yesterday as our new aviation planner. Some of you may recognize Angela. She served with us as an intern back in 2020 before her internship unfortunately got cut short by all of the things that happened in that year. But we're happy to have her join us again, and that brings our division contingent to 10. So we're very happy to have her join us. Welcome, Angelica. Please introduce yourself to her during the conference. And then lastly, I would say, to follow on with Bree's comments about the unleaded avgas transition plan, the same day on January 12th that the FAA announced that that plan was available for public comment, you all should have gotten a missive from Sean noting that that had been released. We sent that to all 1,500 folks on our Mountain Wave distribution list, which includes all 76 public use airports. We've taken a look at it. We intend to offer up some comments after I take a couple extra pokes at it. So if you all have comments, please let me know that we can incorporate those into the division's comments. And then I would encourage all of you as airports to take a look at that as well. And I would ask you if you're willing to share your comments with us. It would help inform what we do and kind of make sure that we're all on the same page and know what we're all talking about. So those comments are due on March 13th, and we expect we'll have comments back to you all to chew on here well before that. So that concludes my director's report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excellent. Thank you. Next up, we're on agenda item 11, and that is our financial update. So I will turn it over to Bryce Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As always, I'll go through these relatively quickly. Feel free to stop me at any time if you have more questions and just interrupt me. Revenue-wise, December revenue came in at 3.9 million. That was 98% of our forecasted 4 million. Down a little bit from November's numbers as expected, but year to date we're at 25.4 million. Our revenue forecast for FY26 is 50 million. This is one of those meetings every quarter where we update the revenue forecast, but for the second consecutive time, we are not doing so. We are trending exactly as we have budgeted. So no updates to the revenue forecast. Again, we always footnote that there's roughly 4.5 to 8.5 million of previous filings that we're waiting to be collected from back in 2024-25, but we have no update on those numbers as of now. Looking at our cash balance, we finished December at 19.3 million in the bank account, which is a decrease of a little less than $1 million from November. That was anticipated. Again, higher drawdown volume from the previous month's higher revenue, as well as construction season wrapping up, drawdowns coming in at a very healthy rate. And we do anticipate those decreasing though I know there are a few airports that are a little behind on getting some drawdowns in. So as always, there's not a lot of linear equation to the drawdown volume what comes, but cash balance remains very healthy. Just a quick glance at our contingency slide there. Again, we continue to be on pace as we kind of forecast out a worst case formula moving forward. The numbers that we have plugged in kind of 12 months out that we show here are $45 barrel oil and flowage at Denver of 38.5 million. The real numbers, as most people know, current levels are near 55 to 60 dollars per barrel. And Denver averaged over 49.5 million gallons per month in 2025. So our worst case forecast that we kind of doomsday prep and plan for further out. We are nowhere near those numbers currently. So certainly in a healthy position. And then I'll point out again, the 2026 CDAG program that you all approved back in August of 2025 is set right around the 16 million number. So everything trending as expected there. Administratively, our mandated 5% cap by statute is 2.2 million. You guys approved last year at this meeting 900K for this fiscal year. Year-to-date spend, we're less than 400K and forecasting to spend around 835,000, which would mean our actual admin spend compared to previous year's revenue would be 1.8%. So we are well below that 5% statutory cap as per normal. So we're in no risk of having to worry about that. As always, we run pretty lean here. And then fuel flowage at Denver, due to the large impact that has on our finances, we continue to track that month over month. In December, the flowage at Denver was 54.5 million gallons, the highest December on record. That's 21 straight months of all-time monthly highs. That is up 20% from November's 45.3 million gallons and up less than 1% from December of 2024. As projected, the actual number came in significantly higher than the forecast that we were given by the fuel providers, 47.3. And I did actually have a call with them there where when I told them I thought they were at least 10% low, they actually did listen and prepared for that. So, so it was good to see. Again, the month over month trends remain remarkably consistent. And we're forecasting a little over 50 million in flowage at Denver in January. That's all I've got financially. Happy to answer any questions that I covered and or did not cover.
Are there any questions? Great job. I'm happy to report that it looks like Chris De Acosta is now online. So Chris, if you don't mind, we'd love to hear from you about all of the unleaded avgas work that's going on.
He's on mute.
I think you're muted still. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I had a slide to present, but if you would prefer, I could just talk.
I think just talking is easiest today.
Okay. David said that he gave a brief earlier, just some highlights. Everybody should know that we received, at the end of last year, we received ASTM International production spec for our 100R, 100 octane unleaded aviation gasoline. It's been a huge further boost to our efforts. We're still involved with the FAA on a rather complex array of engines and airframes for further approval. They approved over a year ago, they approved the Cessna 172 R&S on our high octane fuel. They have a request from us for 1,100 aircraft engine models and 14 or 1,500 airframe models that's on their desk, and we've been working through it systematically for several months. I expect that approval to come through. I hate to give a deadline because the FAA doesn't like that, but in the next several weeks, I think we're going to get that approval completed. I thought that before, but we're still trudging through. The weather didn't help, the shutdown didn't help, the holidays didn't help, but we're definitely making progress through that. It should be soon. And when that happens, it will result in us switching out 100R for those places that have UL 94 today. So Centennial is our largest airport customer across the world, frankly. And when the time is right, we work with Avfuel, we work with the airport, the jet center there to get that fuel converted from 94 to 100R. You won't see a change in price or other things except that $100 is a more powerful fuel, and it's got anti-valve recession and other kinds of attributes that make it a more resilient long-term fuel for the industry. So I think everybody's going to be equally or more happy with 100R than they were with 94 when that day comes. So that's kind of the big news. There are some airports that have chosen to enhance their infrastructure, and I imagine that's part of some of the things that you will talk about. You're using grants and things that are offered by the FAA and the DOT. So we offer different types of transitional assets. We have mobile tank trailers, we have fuel trucks, we have other things that some airports enjoy and benefit from. Others have different plans. We're not really into the fixed tank solution. We're trying to use transitional assets as a temporary means to augment what are otherwise your permanent fixed tanks at your airports, just as again, a transitional asset. So those are the main highlights of how we're helping people. We have a second large airport coming on stream soon. I'm not sure if I'm free to disclose, but it's somebody in your neighborhood. And so I'll let them speak to that. And I'm expecting other big airports to come shortly on the heels of that in the next 2 to 3 to 4 months ahead. So I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Are there any questions?
Yep. Hey, Chris, it's Mark Vantine. It's great to hear about the progress this was making. My question is really around, can you speak to the supply and demand issue? Is Swift able to produce what the demand is going to be as we go forward?
Absolutely. So if you don't know me very well, you should know that I'm not a pilot. I'm not a lot of things, but what I am is an oil and gas executive that's been in the industry for 4 decades. And we have positioned the long-term success of Swift to be able to leverage growth domestically and internationally. Currently, we've sold over 5 million gallons so far, which is not a huge number, but it's the next closest competitor, I think, has sold 8,000 or 9,000 gallons. We've sold 5 million gallons, and we have supply chain pathways throughout North America. I'm talking to Alaska. I've got 7 customers in the EU, 5 countries in the EU that are working with us today with our fuel. So we have global aspirations. We have no expectation of any supply chain obstacles. We've been selling fuel for over 10 years, and we've never had a supply disruption, not forest fires, not riots, there's been no obstruction to our ability to get fuel into the market. And originally people were concerned about supply continuity and shortage of supply or whatever. It just has not been an issue for us.
Great question. Any other questions?
I have a question. Hi, Chris. This is Bree Lehman here. You mentioned that you are providing some temporary fuel infrastructure to help bridge the gap between the point which this becomes a drop-in solution. Are you, for, I guess, smaller airports that don't have necessarily the same relationship with distributors that Centennial does, are you offering any kind of, I guess, delivery infrastructure as well as sort of, temporary tanks on site? I'm just wondering, for smaller airports who may want to take advantage of this, do you have any options for them
Yes.
from a delivery standpoint?
So the most common feature we have today is we offer a 2,000 gallon, what's called the DOT 406 tank trailer combination. It's on wheels. It's a tank on wheels. I got pictures of it. We bring those to an airport. We refuel our refueler trucks, which are 8,000 or 10,000 gallon refueler, 8,000 gallon refueler trucks. We bring fuel to those tank trailers, which stay at the airport. And that's been the most convenient and the most prominent solution. We've deployed several dozen of those at different airports around the country that were relatively smaller in infrastructure. Some other airports want to build their own. That's fine. It takes longer, it costs more money. We basically rent these. We lease these on a month-to-month basis. So if somebody says, well, I need it for 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, we'll put it out there. We'll deliver to that tank, and you can either dispense from that tank into your airplanes or from that tank into like a refueling, like something that would travel on your airfield to the airplanes. either way, we're trying to be flexible for people. It's not today, it's not set up for credit card, but we have a group of airports that have asked us to go that route. So we're getting ready to convert an add-on to that feature to add a credit card capability. We held back on that, well, for our own reasons, but if you want to get into that, I've got things that I can send people about that. It's been very popular for certain airports. The bigger airports typically do their own thing. Of course, we work with the fuel distributors, World Fuel, AvFuel, Titan, and others. Centennial is an AvFuel branded location, so we work perfectly fine with all of them. Happy to help you in any way we can.
Excellent question. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Is that other airport here to talk?
I can talk loud enough, I don't need a mic.
We'd love for you to use the mic. That way the folks online can hear as well.
Hello, everybody. Eric from Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport. I'm following up on our fun folks at Centennial. I can't really tell you a date because I don't want to be held accountable for it being wrong later. So sometime in February, we should be selling Swift Fuel's 94 UL. And we're happy to have that work with Chris and his team to make that a reality. So February, I'll hold them. We'll have one let it at the airport.
Eric, I'm glad you were there to say that. I didn't want to speak out of school here, but Eric at Broomfield is the location that we've committed, and we've got the fuel raring to go, and we're excited for the continuing success of Colorado. There are one or two others that are on your heels that are going to be shortly after that too, just so you know. And I should also say, as we grow in this market, we are setting up infrastructure of our own. We do manufacture in one or two places, we blend and so forth. Then we move through railcar networks around the country and transload from those into the local communities. And we're enhancing our transloading facilities at this moment to better serve the Rocky Mountain region. So you're going to see some adjustments that we make when that comes on stream. And that's partly because we see, Denver area and Rocky Mountain and so forth, it's growing. So we're going to grow with it to make it more sustainable long term.
This has been a great discussion. Are there any other questions? Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Eric, for sharing that great news. We will move on with our agenda. The next item is item 12, and that is our state and local grant hearing led by Todd Green. As a reminder for everyone, the agenda was amended at the beginning. The Centennial Airport grant will no longer be considered independently, given that board member Leslie Sumi is absent. So that will be part of 12.1. Oh. I'm sorry, I skipped Kip. I thought you did both. Kip, I'm sorry, you're not getting out of your administrative updates.
I thought it was going to.
So, thank you.
That's why you're the director of a major airport, because you catch those details. So.
Yes.
So, good morning, Madam Chairman. Congratulations. Just want to give you a very brief administrative update on the grants. On a couple of grants, we have two new intern grant requests. I'll just read this verbatim. The Colorado Air and Spaceport applied for and was administratively approved for funding to support the hiring of one candidate who will participate in CFO's airport management internship program. This will last up to a year, and we're going to provide 50% match on an hourly wage of 21%. And I think this is a brand new internship program as well at the airport. This is the first time that they've had an intern there since I've been with the division. So this is pretty cool. The next one is the Grand Junction Regional Airport applied for and was administratively approved for funding to support the hiring of two candidates who will participate in GJT's year-long airport administration and operations internship programs. And we're going to provide 50% match on an hourly wage of $18. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. And again, my apologies, Kip. Or you almost got out of it, whatever. Okay, so we will move on to our grant hearing again. Centennial Airport will be considered as part of our consent agenda item 12.1. Also, the Rocky Mountain Metro grant will be deferred from this meeting and removed from that consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I wasn't going to let Kip get away with it either. So, okay, well, thank you again very much. This is really kind of the second aspect of this first grant hearing. At December, the staff presented the 2026 state and local grant applications to the board. We went through all 21 airports with 23 projects at that point. And as Madam Chair just mentioned, that the Rocky Mountain Metro application has been pulled from this set to be acted upon at a future board meeting. So your packet is not necessarily correct right now. And I'll have a few different slides here that I will talk about updates that we've done as well. So really, this is, again, the first round of our 2026 grant program, our state and local program. And so I do have this broken into quite a few different actions, as it's just the process we have to go through to make sure we get all the grants approved and then the actual resolution. So we will run through that. So today, I am actually presenting 20 airport grant applications totaling $9,064,332 in state funding. And of those 20 airports, there's actually 22 projects associated with them. A majority of them, 8 of them, are actually associated with a pavement maintenance project of some sort, accounting for almost $3.6 million of that total $9 million program. So again, this is separated into a consent agenda and then the individual action for Denver International Airport. And so at this point, since we did go through all of them in December, I actually will be looking for approval of the consent agenda, which accounts for actually 19 airports, and it totals $8,614,332. I apologize.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll second.
Great, been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. Next, Todd.
Thank you very much. And then kind of the second step in it, since we did remove Denver International as we had a possible conflict with a board member, I am asking for approval of the Denver International Airport grant application for $450,000 to replace their recycle and disposal bins at the airport. This is actually the second phase of that 3-phase project. So in total, this phase itself will be right around $500,000. Again, a great project environmentally and to help with their kind of single stream waste products. So looking for approval of the Denver International Airport's grant application totaling $450,000.
And Madam Chair, I'll recuse myself from this one.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Great, been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion passes and Steve Lee has recused.
Thank you very much. So again, that's both those approvals together account for $9,064,332 going out to 20 airports. And now that we actually have the grants themselves approved, I am actually looking for approval of Resolution 2026-01, which authorizes the utilization of the aviation fund revenues to fund those grant applications that were just approved.
Second.
Okay, then moved and seconded. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, passes.
Madam Chair, if I might, thank you for the passage of that resolution. Just a reminder for all of you, the next step in that before the grants are actually finally approved is the resolution and the list of grants goes to the governor's office, and he has 30 days to review those and concur with those. That's the next step before we actually will start contracting those grants. So just a friendly reminder to everybody, we've got one more step to do before those are finalized.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Dave. And then while this slide is up as well, this is the one I do want to highlight for everyone. As I've told everyone, this is my favorite slide, as it actually shows where that money that was just approved was going. So again, there was a slight change to the numbers on here with the removal of the Rocky Mountain Metro grant application. But as you can see, this first state and a local program, again, 20 airports, 22 projects, really all over the state. So those approvals they truly do make an impact really all over the state. We don't just focus on the metro airports. The one I will highlight as well is there was a unleaded project as well included in this group for installation of unleaded fuel infrastructure at the Colorado Air and Spaceport. So they got a design grant using that funding last year, and then this was really the implementation of that funding for actually installation. And since we only actually had one of those unleaded grants this time, we have actually protected the remaining portion of that $1.5 million set aside from HB 24-1235, and we will be accepting grant applications for that program as well. Applications are due for our April meeting for that. The applications are due to us by March 1st in that, and so we are hoping to get a second round of unleaded grants again that we'll be able to present to you at the April meeting. So, and then along with that April meeting will also be our federal match program, which we're really expecting about a $7 million program there to get up to our total of a $16 million program for all of the 2026 grant program. So that's the magic number that Bryce gave us, and we're doing our best to stay around that number. So I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek of what's to come at the next meeting as well.
Thank you. I think we're on to item 12.4. Dave, who will be presenting the administrative supplemental budget request?
It's me again.
Okay. Oh, I'm
So-
sorry, Todd.
So what this one is, so back in August of 2022, at our annual workshop with the board, we came up with the idea of developing an administrative supplemental fund. We are having a lot of projects happen during the summer where something happens and then all of a sudden they either get more federal money or something happens and they need just a little bit additional money to actually finalize the project. And so at that point, we actually requested approval to implement this fund, which would allow the division staff to approve amendments from these grants from our airports, as long as the scope was the same, but they just needed some additional funding with it. And so with that program, the airports are able to submit a supplemental application to our staff. We're able to approve it administratively, get that money in place. And what that has really happened, because without us actually approving that funding, that project had to stop where it was. We had to wait till the next board meeting to get it approved. And then again, that money could flow from there. So this really helps keep all of those projects going that were actually still ongoing. If there was any change in scope, that's where we would say absolutely not. That would have to come before our board for approval in that aspect, which we'll actually have one at our next meeting. Again, sneak peek on that. And so with this, and then once we actually do administratively approve those grants, we actually we do present those for informational purposes at the next meeting. So you're still seeing all of those amendments, even if they are supplemental. We are presenting those to you during Kip's update, actually, that he just did as well. So that's where those updates would sit going forward. So with that being said, now that we have the state and local grant applications approved, we are requesting approval of $1 million in funding for this administrative supplemental fund. We had about $235,000 remaining from the last million we approved, but we just wanted to have a clean slate with the 2026 program, so that $233,000 will go away. And then again, I'm looking for approval of this $1 million to fund this supplemental administrative fund going forward.
So I want to make a comment just for the newer board members. When we put this in place, we put guardrails around it. It really was about creating efficiency and responsiveness from the division. And every subsequent review of that has demonstrated that the division and the staff have been very careful about using that money, and the guardrails work. So I'm very much in support of this, and so I'll make a motion that we approve the supplemental budget and budget request of $1 million.
1 million, thank you.
And I'll second that. And what you said, I think, makes it a lot faster getting money out and stopping the delaying of projects for that.
Great. Is there any further discussion? I will add one last comment. I think that it's eloquent as well because particularly, on projects where you're using a mix of money, the FAA has a similar program. And so FAA grants can be amended in a similar way. So I think that makes it easy for airports. There's no further discussion. We'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, next on our agenda is item 13. Hetty, who will give us an update on our aviation education grant program.
Chair, and congratulations. I will be seeking CAB approval of recommended aviation education and workforce development grants today. Just a little bit of background, in January of last year, the CAB approved $445,000 of fiscal year 2026 funding for the Aviation Education and Workforce Development Grant Program, which allowed us to conduct one round of grant solicitations and approvals. We opened up the grant window last year, October 1. We closed it December 15th, and we had a total of 21 application submittals, which was a lot. Total requested funds were close to $940,000, which was close to $495,000 over approved funding. So following review, staff worked with 6 applicants to eliminate ineligible items and focus on key projects and initiatives to remain within the $445,000 budget scope. So on the screen, and the accompanying map is a summary of each of the applicants' request and staff's recommendation for funding following application review and discussions on January 6th. So thank you again to Board Member Kevin Ryan for joining us with that. And it was great to have a unique perspective as well. So thank you again. I want to point out that 11 of the 15 applicants are brand new to the grant program. So I'm really excited about that, actually. I'm just going to kind of go through them really quickly. Community College, they are starting a Career Academy AMT pathway for 11th and 12th grade students. So that'll be for dual enrollment in the high schools, which is great. I don't know if you remember last year, Ames Community College said that they were going to launch their AMP, Part 147 AMP program this month. So that is now on the roll. So that's really exciting for Northern Colorado specifically. Archuleta County School District, specifically Pagosa Springs, they are starting a high school ground school. Ascend College Prep is adding a drone pathway to aviation programming within their schools, which is really exciting. CAOA, annual statewide training to all airports within Colorado. Happy to help with that. This one was also a very unique one. Denver Center of Equity and Excellence in Aviation, so DENCIA. They're asking for funding for youth career pathways and research and innovation programs. The Civil Air Patrol Colorado Wing is looking to start a statewide cadet small UAS program. The Colorado River BOCES, which encompasses Garfield, DeBeck, Roaring Forks, and Aspen school districts to expand their aviation education program. Custer County Schools, which is Westcliff, essentially, the Wet Mountain Valley. They are also hoping to expand their ground school for CTE programming within their school district. Eureka McConnell Science Museum in Grand Junction. They are expanding their aviation aerospace activities into STEM camps and public exhibits. We are happy to once again recommend the Innovation Center of St. Vrain Valley Schools. They had asked to replace their malfunctioning flight simulator with an advanced aviation training device. Their previous simulator was actually donated, and they had it for 8 years, and it stopped updating and all of that. So they were looking to something that would allow them to log time to help reduce flight training costs for students. So Legacy Campus, which is down in Douglas County School District, they're asking for a Redbird, also an AATD, to expand the aviation pathway to include instrument rating training and learning of time. STEM School Highlands Ranch, they have a drone soccer program that they are starting up. university schools. They want to expand their UAS program, as well as Weld County Roosevelt High School. And they are also doing dual enrollment with Ames Community College for their drone program as well. So we love to see that interaction, especially with dual enrollment. So reaching down to the high schools so that those pathways can start before they ever think about post-secondary education. Wings Over the Rockies Air and Space Museum. They have asked for funding to expand their first-person view drones and UAS programs. So that is a brief but not very brief list of all of those recommendations. So we do recommend CAB approval of 15 applicants for a total of $442,422 in the fiscal year 2026 Aviation Education Workforce Development Grants.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve?
Madam Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you for this update. I was just wondering, for the Archuleta County School District program, that was a pretty big reduction in what their request is. Is this an ongoing program, or are they trying to start up? And is this enough to get them going?
Yes, they started. Unfortunately, a lot of their grant application had ineligible requests. So we were able to at least help them start with curriculum for ground school. And they were more than happy to have that so they could at least start elsewhere. And then we also encouraged them to really dig down into that grant manual and see what they can ask for when the next grant cycle opens in October. So we highly encourage anyone who doesn't receive a grant this year. We always say, please try again.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation of $442,422 for the 2026 Aviation Education and Workforce Development Grant.
Second. Great. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions?
Yeah.
A lot.
I've got something to say about this. No, if it's okay, I'll just go first to let you know what, I'm going to recuse myself again just because of SIA being on there, but I also want to just voice my support for this entire program. It's a very effective way of just building that pipeline of education that we need to stay ahead of things, and a lot of good work done with really not a lot of money, relatively speaking. So thank you.
Thank you.
And my comment is along the same lines, which is heading the quality of the programs and the applications that we're supporting seems to be growing. And so, and this may be one, to Steve's point, that we want to revisit the budget, the amount that we set each year as the program now has some momentum and is making an impact.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had the opportunity, like you did, to help choose these funds for 2 of the years I was on the board, and it's wonderful. It's an honor. But I was wondering if you could tell everybody, some people might have questions on what is drone soccer and what is it of drone soccer. So could you just answer that question? Because I know a lot of people are like, drone soccer, what the?
Sure. So the students, they actually receive kits, so they get to build their own drones. They become proficient in flying them, and then when they break them, they also get to repair them. So they also get to work in a team environment. So as we know in the real world, that we typically have to work with people every day, in and out, different kinds of people, and how to get along. And it's some of those soft skills that a lot of students really need guidance.
Yeah, just a quick comment from myself. I was just echoing, what's already been said. This is such an incredible program. I always look forward to this part of the meeting when we hear about these things that are going on. And I kind of have a unique perspective being out there on a border town, and I've got a good relationship with some Kansas airports, and they're so jealous of these programs that we have. And just one little specific instance with myself out at Burlington, we received a simulator 3 years ago or so. And we've had over 550 kids get to fly our simulator out in Burlington. Burlington's a town of 3,500 people, so that's quite a bit. We get kids from other towns, and a really exciting thing to get kids interested in aviation. So I always love this program, and great job.
Thank you. And thank you for what you do.
Any other discussion? I have a quick question, Hetty. Sorry to put you on the spot, but you have the requested funding listed. And that is obviously for all of those grantees. Were there any applicants who were you had to kind of exclude from this list just given the budget?
Yes, there were about 6 of them that we had to gently let down.
Okay. And so that requested amount is actually in excess of what we see here even.
Yes.
Okay. Great. There's no further discussion, then I will motion for a vote. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same side. Right. That passes.
Thank you.
All right. And then Hetty, I think you have the next item as well, right?
I do. I'm asking for approval of the Aeronautical Board Resolution 2026-02, which is authorizing the utilization of aviation fund revenues for the aforementioned aviation education grants.
So moved.
Great, thank you.
But yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
What's the amount?
The total amount, 442,422. Yes.
So the same list I think we just saw, just specifying the funds. Good question. Okay. There's no further discussion. We'll take a vote. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay, thank you very much, Hetty.
Thank you.
Bryce, I think you're back up. For those following along, we are on agenda item 14.
Yeah, so we're going to kick off some of the budget requests for fiscal year 2027. First one up is our administration costs and program delivery costs. Just for context, we kind of lump these together. They are basically the costs associated with running the division. Per statute, admin costs cannot exceed 5% of previous year's gross revenue. Our current FY26 revenue is projected at 50 million, so our statutory cap would therefore roughly be 2.5 million. We won't have the official number until July, but we are nowhere near that 2.5 number that we're asking for here. So a combined number that we're looking for the two programs is 1.8 million. That's compared to 1.675 in fiscal year 2026. And our actual forecasted spend of FY25, which was 1.5 million. Of note, this year that's different. All out-of-state travel is allocated to the admin cost center rather than the individual program centers. That's a reflection of a change of CDOT policy that we have to get in line on. So a little bit of restructuring there, but again, you heard me talk earlier about how lean we are running. Our administrative portion of the budget we're asking for would actually be only 1.9% of the forecasted 50 million in revenue. And again, one other note to make note of is the administration budget must be approved by the TC as well. It's part of the overall CDOT administrative budget. That typically does occur in April every year. So again, from a pure dollar perspective, we are looking to approve a 900,000 for the program delivery portion of the division and 900,000 for the administration portion of the division for a combined total of 1.8 million. Again, the reason we do that this way is just keeping in line with what we've historically done. We do have those split out for obvious reasons to align with the way that states governments are structured as far as the admin costs go. You will note the admin budget is actually flat year over year, which is not typical, but just you've seen the numbers. We're coming in well below pace as we've continued to clean the administrative cost center, make sure stuff gets allocated program centers. And with Angelica being introduced here, the division now being fully staffed, we do anticipate that those large increases we have seen kind of year over year in program delivery, those probably won't happen anymore now that the restructure is done. So moving forward, it'll probably be slight increases every year. But for this year, I am looking for approval from the board to approve 900,000 to fund the program delivery cost center and 900,000 for the administration cost center.
Thank you, Bryce. I get a motion?
So moved. All right, I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, that item 14.1 is approved.
Thank you.
Turn it back over to you, Bryce.
All right, 14.2, the property budget request. This is allocating funding for all costs associated with the office building where the division is located. This allows us to develop and maintain our capital improvement and maintenance plan, and just keep everything going at the office and the lights on out there. As you can see, the funding request this year of $77,500 is split between operating $70,000 and capital costs about $7,500. The largest spend this year is just upkeep, regular utilities. We have no large projects planned at the building. Historically, this is actually less than it has been for the last couple of years by a slight amount, but we're just kind of looking for approval for our budget request for the year of $77,500.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. We're on to item 14.3, and I think Todd will be leading that one.
Thank you very much again, Madam Chair. So I really hope you guys like reading memos because this next agenda item has a lot of memos behind it. So again, so this agenda item is for our statewide initiative budgets for, again, FY 2027, which starts actually July 1 of this year and then goes to June 30th of 2027. So this is our annual approval or request of approval for all of these statewide initiatives. So I've been with the division almost 14 years, and I will say this list was much shorter when I started. So we are actually doing a lot of cool stuff where they have a larger impact. So earlier I asked for approval for grants for our airports, and those are really, that's funding for specific projects at those airports. What's really good about our statute is that it also allows us to use our grant funding to do projects that impact more than one airport. And so that's really what this funding is for all of these statewide initiatives. As you can see, there are 17 different statewide initiatives I am requesting approval of today. Each of those 17 does have a memo following this to give you much more detailed information. And then also what's actually pretty cool, Caitlin and I will be doing another presentation for CAOA here at 1 today, where we will actually be highlighting a lot of these projects as well. So I won't necessarily get into them too much, but again, there is quite a bit of detail in the following memos too from in the packet. So I will highlight a couple that just had somewhat large differences from last year, just so you guys can know exactly what's going on. So airport inspections, as you can see, that went up by $25,000. That's kind of the first time we've seen an increase in that program, but we are actually in the process of finalizing a new 5-year agreement for that service. And so we weren't quite sure exactly where that one was going to end up. So we protected it for another $25,000 there. Airport internships. What's really cool about that is the first time in a very long time we've asked for an increase in that. But that kind of goes back to Kip's update where he talked about we did have a new intern program. I believe it was at Aspen, I think is what he had said. So that is kind of the increase in change there. The crack fill program increased by $25,000. Really, most of that is actually just the purchase of another machine. So that program, we have 14 regional use machines around the state for airports to use as they apply crack fill. But those machines have gotten more expensive, as has pretty much everything else in our lives. So that is really the increase in that cost center. The next one I wanted to highlight was the Mountain AWAS program. So this one saw really a big jump from $200,000 the last few years up to $350,000. This program accounts for our office owns and operates 13 mountain weather stations located kind of on many different mountain passes for the flying public. And those were all installed back in the 2001 timeframe. And they're getting old, and electronics don't do very well when they're old, and especially on top of mountaintops. And so So what that additional $150,000 allows us to do is we are going to start replacing them, and that allows us at least budget to at least replace one at this point in this coming year. So we are going to put together a better plan of what that true replacement looks like over the next 5 years, and probably come to you again next year with a larger number as we need to replace all 13 of those sites. So that is the big increase on Mountain AWAS. Professional development, this actually goes back to what Bryce just talked about. That was a decrease of a large amount, and that is because our out-of-state travel budget does not come out of that anymore. And then the next one is the Digital Tower Project Management program, and that one saw a big increase again because we are actually in the process of going out for another solicitation to bring on a new group to take over that program, or the same group. But again, it's just somewhat of the unknown as we go back out for a new 5-year agreement. And then the last one I do want to highlight is the technical services, the increase of $100,000 over our last year's approval. And that is, I'm very excited to say, is hopefully Sean doesn't hurt me for this. We think the app is going to be created, and that is to fund that. We know it's going to be. That was awfully for sure there, Sean. But that is what that cost center is. That's the increase there. So we can actually develop that mobile application to get a lot more of our publications out there. So I would be happy to answer any questions about any of these 17 programs, or I can throw it to the planners here as well. But I'll ask if there's any questions before I actually ask for approval.
I do have a quick question on the weather camera program. I've had a couple airports that didn't get in on that in the first, and they were really interested in it. How does the cost structure of that work? Is it a 50-50 thing, or is that even, I guess, just elaborate on that maybe?
Great question. So how that program actually started. So at our 13 mountain sites, we worked with the FAA to install cameras on all 13 of those sites to really give better information. And you'll see some more of that tomorrow. And then we had 2 additional phases to get those cameras installed at airports across the state as well. So currently we have 43 sites around the state. And really how those were selected initially is it didn't necessarily make sense for us to spend the money to install cameras at all the airports around the state, as we just needed to have geographic coverage on them. But at that point, that was kind of where we ended that. And how the money worked, we actually paid for all of the installation of them. And then we were on the hook for 3 years for the maintenance of those. Those 3-year agreements are all up for all of those sites now, which I'm happy to say. And so really all the division pays for going forward is the Verizon modem at all of those sites. So those still hit our cost center. But I will say, if there are other airports out there that are interested in getting cameras similar to these, the FAA has, the Alaska Weather Group has opened up the ability to get installations done as well. I believe they send you the hardware, you install it yourself, but there is the ability to add to that program going forward. It's just not necessarily through our office at this point. Gotcha. So it's been amazing, and we'll show a map of what has changed since we installed them to what the country looks like here later today. No, great question. Any other questions on any of these 17 memos?
A question about how you work with ForeFlight. Who on your team works with ForeFlight to get this onto ForeFlight?
So actually none of us. That actually did not come from our office. The Alaska Weather Group had developed the all the programming behind the scenes. And so now all of these camera sites are available on ForeFlight as well. But I will say that it wasn't necessarily something specifically that came out of our office. I will say we pushed really hard for it. But again, it's really that developer behind the scenes that they have to work together to be able to get that functionality. And I think it's great that it is out there and ready to go nationwide.
Yeah, it is. And it's for all the pilots in the room. I'm sure they appreciate it as well. If you're not using it, it's on ForeFlight, the weather cameras.
Hey, Todd, under airport operations monitoring system, there's a very significant reduction. Why?
Yeah, I was going to let Caitlin talk about that later today. But we have not had as much use for that program as we expected. So what that program is airports are eligible for 90% up to $3,000 from the division to implement a airport operations monitoring system at their airport. And we honestly thought all the airports would just jump on board and say, hey, give us this money. This is awesome. We have not got there yet. And so I really just wanted to reduce that just budget-wise, that if I didn't plan on spending it, that I just wanted a more realistic number I hope to come back to you guys next year with a larger number, because as you can see, this list got longer, and that's actually kind of what caused our reorganization topic to happen in our office. And so Caitlin's role is slightly changing in our office to be able to manage all of these statewide programs, and she is not shy about calling people and getting more use of these programs. So I really hope, and she's going to talk about it a little bit later, I really hope we come back to you next year with a larger number there. But for this upcoming fiscal year, that's about where I expect it to land, is about that, closer to that $100,000 number.
Are there any other questions? All right.
Okay.
Motion.
Yeah, I am looking for approval of $3,680,000 to fund these 17 statewide initiatives through FY 2027.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Madam Chair, if I can make a comment, yeah, to the division, again, going back to our comments about what Hetty's program is in workforce development, and that budget sits flat. I think we should look at a methodical way over time to grow that, 5% a year, but until we reach a place where that program, we think it's the same. We have 6 who weren't on the list because of the shortage of funds. I know, Eddie, there you are. You've done a great job of making sure that that the applicants stay to our rules and such. But that's a program. That's an investment in ourselves and the state and in the industry. So next year it'd be nice to see again a longer term plan. And not just, one-offs where we throw a little bit of more money at it, but a target of what we think that program should be. In my mind, it should be somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 based on what our budget is and our ability to support it. But, you need to take a look strategically at how that program can grow. Thank you.
Can I add to that too? I think, we've got a lot of resources to offer a lot of people, and obviously there's very hard to decide what money goes where. And I think it's going to be much easier for some of our larger airports to generate their own revenue to accommodate for some of these increases in costs, whereas these small programs and small schools, especially in areas that are outside of the Denver metro area, have basically no ability to generate that kind of funding for themselves. So I think it's a really great opportunity for us as a board with these incredible resources to allocate a bit more of that funding, because I think that additional $100,000 or $200,000 from a grant standpoint towards an educational outcome is an enormous amount of money, whereas to a paving project, I don't know that it's that significant if it's spread over the cost of all of these airports that we're supporting every year. So I definitely want to support that we move towards funding all of those who are in compliance with the grant application rules as much as we can, given our current budget.
Well said.
Nice.
Can I ask a question? So we're at the Airport Operators Conference. Why isn't the Airport Operation Management Fund? You guys ask and you shall receive, maybe. Can you explain that, Todd? Like a little bit more of why people aren't asking?
I may have you restate that for me now that I have the microphone. I gave it away too early.
You said the funding wasn't being asked for the airport operations and monitoring, airport operations monitoring, and this is an airport operators
Absolutely.
conference.
No.
So why they're all here, right? So can you explain why they're not asking?
Yep, we will do. And again, that will be part of our presentation coming up too. Really, it's a newer program. So it's something we rolled out here 2.5 years ago. It's somewhat newer technology that's being used out there. Again, it's not used widely across the country. It was just something that we saw some some great technology and doing cool things with it. And again, I believe we have some of the vendors here today. So hopefully a lot of those airports that aren't signed up can go kind of see what those vendors have to show. But it is really amazing to see what you can do with some of that data and actually use it as an airport. But yeah, we see it as just a newer program. Again, I really hoped that year one, everyone was just going to jump on board, but I get kind of the understanding that it does take a little bit of time to stand up a program. And then the other piece of it is our staff has been so busy working on everything that we do that because I've been responsible for these kind of the past however many years, I just haven't been able to dedicate the time to it and following up with airports and showing them what this stuff can truly do. So I will say I truly look forward to Caitlin's movement on this going forward. I think there's going to be some pretty cool things coming up in the near future out of our office.
If I could kind of elaborate on that a little bit, as a user of that system now for over a year now, we're just getting into the year-over-year data with ours, and this is kind of my pitch for any of you that are on the fence on this. I use that every month in my reporting to my town council on our operations and things like that. Also, the amount of data that comes out of this is incredible. And for one thing, for airport operations, it gives you totals over the week, over the month, over the year. You can see really what your operations are like through the week, even the time of day. I mean, and I'm sure I'm speaking of my specific one that I use, but I'm sure this is probably the same data that they all have. But you can really pinpoint your operations as far as, aircraft operations, what time of day is for staffing purposes and things like that. I'm kind of working on using our data to pitch getting a weekend guy. I don't have anybody on the weekend at my airport now, but our busiest day for some reason is Sunday. So, that's kind of how we use the software internally. And if anyone was kind of needing some ideas on that for you're on the fence. So.
Yeah, and we're really going to start pushing it hard again because the one initiative I didn't talk about was the one that was not numbered is here starting in which is crazy to say, a year, we will be looking for an update to our economic impact study and I know I said the same thing, and our aviation system plan. And so the aviation system plan is the one we do every 10 years, and we use so much data to backfill that. And so that's really where we, as a state, that's really the reason we started participating in this program, so we can start getting that statewide data as well. So I will say I have kind of access to all of the airports that have the information too, so I can log on and see all of that. And it is amazing the amount of data you can pull from it. It's very cool.
That was a nice discussion. Good question. Trimby, follow-up question for you, Todd, just to kind of put a bow on things. You said that the program offers $3,000 per year to the airports. Roughly, for context, roughly how much does the program cost? So how far does that $3,000 go annually?
Great question. So that we know of, there are 4 vendors out there that have done it. And again, our office has met with all 4 of those vendors, and we made it a kind of a competitive program. We didn't say, hey, we're going with one, but the $3,000 pretty much gets you the base level subscription for all 4 of them. And that was really that number. That was the reason we went with that number, that, hey, if you want additional bells and whistles, you're able to work with whoever you choose to get those additional bells and whistles. And I know there's a lot of airports that aren't just paying that base $3,000 because you can also pay a little bit more money and get, which I believe Daniel's doing, and also get the recording of the audio that is going on as well as the aircraft are talking on their Unicom frequency. So there's actually quite a few different bells and whistles that can be added to the system, but that was the reason we came up with the $3,000. It kind of gives you that base level subscription for all 4.
Excellent. I see lots of people taking notes. So I think there's a chance you're going to be coming back to the board to go back to your old budget numbers. Then that would be a great problem to have.
That's a win for all of us. I really do think so. Thank you.
Yeah, that just reminded me, you're talking about that extra functionality. We do pay for that at Burlington. Part of the reason is because we're such a small staff. I can pull that up on my phone and listen to the Unicom frequency live as we've got operations coming in. There's all kinds of features in there where you can get notice of arrivals. And for a small operation, that's a really useful tool to have. So.
Great. If there's no further discussion, I think we'll get back to the agenda. Next, we have program updates. So there's no action associated with these, but I think we'll start with Hetty and Sean, who will give us an update on the education and outreach programs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it's good to have you as chair. And so good luck. I'm Sean Soderberg. I'm the communications manager here at the Colorado Division of Aeronautics. I couldn't believe, I was talking to Josh last night at the bar. I've been here 25 years doing this. It's been awesome working here. Obviously, I like it a lot. I do have a dream job. My job is to tell the story about aviation in Colorado, and definitely the outcome of all the hard work that our office does, this board does, and how it impacts airports across Colorado. So, and this is a fun time of the year for me for sure, because it's publication release time. It's January, and we've got a lot of stuff that's going out to the public right now. And specifically on your tables, you'll probably see one of the hottest pieces that we put out there is our aeronautical chart and our airport directory. Those out there, we get a, and I'm going to talk about the publications, but I'm also going to talk about how we get the word out and some other ways we do that, and also some fun metrics on where it's going and how we're doing. So, but the first big one is our airport directory. The 2026 is out. The ink is wet. I literally just picked these up yesterday. And this is probably one of our most popular publications. It has not only just information about all of your airports in it, to give pilots just a sneak peek of what they can expect, including aerial photos, which is my favorite part of the job, is to go take those pictures. But we also have a lot of different safety information in there. You know, as we go to Oshkosh every year to get the word out to pilots who want to fly to Colorado, because it's a challenging place to fly, and tell them that there's density altitude issues and there's big mountains, and be careful, and here's how to do it. So, and a lot of that information you can find in this book, including those weather cameras. We're using QR codes a lot now, thanks to COVID. They came back to be popular again. So we are using a lot of them in our publications, and I'll show you a metric. They work well, and we can track that. But we get 8,000 of these directories printed every year, 9,000 charts. You can order them online. We're going to be delivering them to your airports. They're beating down our door already. Pilots are wanting to get them right now. You can go online and order copies to be mailed to you. So they are very popular. And inside there, you're going to find a lot of different information. One of the newest things we have in there is going to be the noise abatement information and alternative fuel availability. I know we're talking about the availability of unleaded fuel being Centennial, and then BJC. But there's another blue dot on there that indicates unleaded fuel, and that's going to be Colorado Air and Spaceport, indicative of the grant that they just received. So that's coming up here very soon as well. And each one of those QRs leads to some sort of a website that either an airport or a county has that talks about noise abatement. That being said, if you have a noise abatement program and it's not on here, let me know so I can get it added, so we can get that information out to pilots. So there's also training areas. Flying in Colorado, it's busy, especially in the Front Range. There's training traffic everywhere. This document, I work with CAE and the Air Force Academy to get trained, and this is actually put together by Colorado pilots working with flight schools to organize the training areas around Colorado. And also this identifies some of those noise abatement areas and where to avoid and stay away from. But flying up there, I'll tell you what, these things are used very well, and it makes it a lot more coordinated and safer in the skies, especially from training. So on the back, this year is our 150th birthday of Colorado and the 250th birthday of the United States of America. And so there's going to be a big event. This is in the early planning stages, but we've been working with a group that's putting on the Mile High 150 Expo. All the details we have is right here. That's about as much as we have. There's a QR to the website, so check back often. But it's going to be a big statewide event. It's going to be hosted mainly at BJC with flyovers and air shows and live concerts, but also other airports are going to be asked to get involved as well to help celebrate our 150th birthday. aviation style. So that information is there, so check it out. So there'll be a lot more to come there. So I was talking to a few of you about whether this is available in PDF format, and yes, it is. And in fact, in the directory, I have a QR in there that you can just scan and download it right now. So if you don't have to bug me with an email, you can get it right now. So yeah, that's available there. It's really, it's not as sexy as an app. That is coming. That is in the contract works right now, to have an app that has all of this information, that's easy to navigate, easy to access. And then it's going to be coupled with a passport program. So one of the things was, well, everyone's got ForeFlight. Why would they use our thing? So it's going to be more focused on encouraging pilots to fly to different airports, geotag in, and earn prizes and have other challenges available to pilots to fly around the state, but also get the same information, safety information that's offered in the hard copy version. So let's see here. Speaking of the QRs and specifically the downloads of the airport directory, I went on, so we do all of our QR codes in a program called QR Code Generator. That's a really creative name, but it works. And that's where we make all these things. And I can actually track who's scanning the codes from where, how many. And so I pulled up this one from last year's Colorado Airport Directory. And no, I'm not saying there's a ton of scans, but what I think what's more remarkable is where they're coming from. We got Ireland, Canada, Germany, Korea, Hong Kong, Vietnam, China, and that list actually continues on. And what's cool there, if you think about it, someone physically has to have that code, the QR, and is scanning that. So it's pretty cool to see that it's being used. And I attribute a lot of that probably to our participation at Oshkosh, where we have a 20 by 20 or 10 by 20 booth partnered with Colorado pilots to get all the safety information out to pilots. Selling Colorado is not hard. I mean, everybody wants to come to Colorado. It's doing it without killing yourself. And so that is our mission when we go there. We did put a video together that talks all about that, and what our mission is and how many people we reach and how much goes out to them and how we do it. So encourage you. We'll talk more about our YouTube here in a second. But yeah, so the QRs are really, really, really good. We're also on social media. We have Facebook, X, YouTube, Instagram, and then our emails go out through MailChimp. You'll mostly see us on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube, no, we're not the $1 million or the million, we're not making money, and I'm not like a star on YouTube or anything, but for a state organization, we have 2,500 views of our videos. We got 46 of those up there. We have a series up there called Airport Stories that highlights each of these airports. One we did of Burlington. If you want to learn more about Daniel's education program, anything that's going on at the airport that's interesting, we put in a video format. I get to go out and film those, produce them, and just really tell that positive story of how important an airport is to your community, and put that in a video format. We did one for Eagle. That one's featured in our annual report that I'll go over in a minute, but I encourage you to check that out. One of our latest ones is talking about the Walden runway project. Walden has a brand new, awesome black runway now. And that video talks about the really cool partnership that occurred to make that happen. So encourage you to go there. Facebook, for a state organization, we have almost 3,000 followers. So it's a really effective way for us not only to get our story out, but aggregate stories that are about other things that are important to general aviation. So we use that quite a bit. So we are close to 3,000. You're going to see a lot of different things, like I said, photos and aviation news, anything that's relevant to Colorado especially, but also as the nation when it comes to aviation. Here's just a look at some of the metrics that we have here. We've got the 2,800 followers there from all over the world: Brazil, Mexico, Canada, Germany, India, United Kingdom, Philippines, Vietnam, Pakistan, and that list also goes on as well. So really effective tool. I'm sure a lot of airports use them. I know Centennial has a good presence on Facebook as well. So that works well. I wish I could present this in a more positive way, but here's one of our more recent posts that we had. When the Broncos beat the Bills, Dave immediately called me. He's like, pull that photo, share that photo of Centennial with the Broncos logo in it. So I pulled it up and reposted. We posted this when they went to the Super Bowl 10 years ago, and it literally went viral. I had news organizations calling me from my cell phone, asking me if they could fly over and see it. This is actually just a Photoshop job. So I guess the tower at Centennial was getting all kinds of requests for people like, we want to see the logo, and it doesn't exist, but it got a lot of, you can't believe anything on the internet anymore. So we posted it again just to see what would happen. But we didn't get nearly as many views and shares as we got the first time. I think people are catching on to how fake the internet is, but we still got almost 14,000 views out of that. And what's weird is 85% of those weren't even our followers. So it got out there. A lot of reactions to that one. So that's kind of some of the stuff you'll see there. Here's another one talking about the first electric fleet by Centennial Flyers out at Centennial Airport. It got 4,300 views, 65 likes. We got 2 followers out of it too, so that was good. But it's getting that information out to the community, and it's working. So the next one are the emails we were talking about. Dave was talking about the Mountain Wave. We put out a few different ones out there. The Mountain Wave. Anytime there's an unleaded transition update, you're going to get an email about that. Action calls specifically to airports. That's very, very targeted there. And then, of course, the notices about our meetings here as well. So there, we have 1,725 subscribers. It's probably the easiest way to communicate because I can hit a button and I got 2,000 people nearly sitting out there, hopefully that open up their emails. In this case, like this one right here was about the Colorado Soaring Club, got unleaded aviation fuel for their tow plane. We put that one out there. It got half the people that got it, they opened it. And we surpassed other CDOT newsletters by quite a bit. So people are using it. It's a great way to communicate. Here's another one. This one was on another aviation fuel transition update. That one, over half the people opened that one up. So that's good. So that information is getting out there. People are reading it. They're being informed. So I think we're doing a good job there. And this tool helps us do that really well. Here's the one that I need to talk to all of you about, because this only goes, the action calls typically only go out to the airports. Most of the time, it's just for me to get data for the updated for the airport directory. If you're not getting those, let me know so I can get you on the list. But we really heavily rely on our airports to get me the information. So this book is up to date and pilots get the right information. So if you're not getting those emails, please hit me up today or tomorrow. We'll get you on that list. One of this tool here, I love this report. It's really small. It's on your tables. It's our annual report, but it highlights everything we do, how much we do it, all of our different initiatives, some of the outcomes that all the grants, everything's in there. It's kind of like you get somebody to come up to me and say, what do you guys do? Just hand them this and that's it right here. All very nicely, neatly packaged. You can also download the PDF of it. There's a lot of the cover photo is the State Patrol's King Air Beach King Air 200, flown by recently retired 45-year veteran CSP Dave Harper, just retired. So he's flying that plane on the front cover there. So that is going to be running around. You'll see copies of that. And then for tonight, I have hard copies of these big maps. If you need to find out who your legislator is, in relationship to where your airport is. This is the document. There were quite a bit of updates to this year. So if you have the old one, definitely get the new one. So that really puts it, that's really it in a nutshell of what we communicate, how we do it, and some of the impacts. So any questions?
I also just want to if you at your airport this year, if you please email Hetty HETTY.Carlson CARLSON at state.co.us calendar. So please don't forget that. If you have any chapters at your airports that like to do pancake breakfast fly-ins and that sort of thing. So please just let us know. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you travel across the nation and you look at what other states do, I challenge you to find another state that communicates with its constituency and with the public, and with this quality and frequency that happens here. You know, Sean's and the staff do an amazing job. He's a little bit of a one-man band, but the qualities of this information is unsurpassed, and so we should be very proud of that. Well done, Sean.
Any other comments? Okay, well, in the interest of time, we'll move forward. Thank you, Sean and Hetty. Next on the agenda is 15.2, a digital tower update. Dave, who will be leading that?
It'll be Mr. Payne, and I know we have some folks from RTX and Frequentis here as well, so I'll turn it over to Bill.
Okay, great.
Okay,
And Bill, I want to make sure you know we are pretty tight on time.
Okay, we'll be tight on response.
Thank you.
So it's nice to see the board, and Gigi, it's good to see you on this committee. And just a couple of things real quick. Frequentis, who is here, and we'll give a quick update of where they are. They're going through a very aggressive schedule to get to SDA. So I will let them speak. We have a couple of folks here. Jacoby Adderley back there in the back is an FAA contractor who's working at Bartow on their tower. We also have Bo Frederick, who is the new representative from RTX, Collins, whoever you are today. Anyway, just a couple of things before I'll let Matt Richardson, who's going to address this, say is that I'm sure you've all been hearing about the reorganization of the FAA. That's come out finally. It's very interesting how they have reorganized and who is there and who's not there anymore. That's been officially published. There's no more PMO, which is of interest to a lot of folks, but I would encourage you to take a look at that if you're interested. Why, I'm not sure, but if you would like to see what they're doing. So without further ado, because we're short on time, I'll let Matt Richardson, who's with Frequentis, give us a quick update.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you for having us here again. It's nice to be back. Just a quick update, as Bill mentioned, 2026, I think we're saying at least is the year of digital tower, remote tower. We are anticipating our system design approval to go through this year. Everything's looking really good with the FAA. And thanks again to Jacoby and all the FAA people for their hard work on that front. The operational testing for digital tower from Frequentis has concluded. We're waiting for the report back from FAA, but everything I believe was positive, and we passed on with flying colors, I believe. And the paperwork side of the SDA is still ongoing. We're planning on delivering paperwork through March here. In 2025, we established, as Bill said, a fairly aggressive schedule for delivery. We've hit every delivery date so far, including the dates in January, which we're about at the end here. So just February, March to go. And just to conclude, I think there's a few different efforts and things you'll see in the news. The administrator in December spoke to the Hill and committed on digital tower that the proliferation will start this year. Already naming 2 airports we're working with in Florida, Bartow and Winter Haven, with more identified to come. No airports have been identified on that, but there are various funding opportunities that the FAA are exploring to make that happen. The one I would like to mention is AIP funding. As most people know, the AIP funding has been made available for a certified digital tower system, which would mean an SDA digital tower system. And the FAA for Qantas RTX, we're anticipating AIP will be one of those ways where the first wave of digital towers here in the 2026 cycle may start to proliferate. So that should be something the Colorado airports are aware of and starting to think about if that's somewhere you intend to go. Thank you.
I just have a quick question. Is there anything that we should be doing at the state level, either the CAB or the division in support of of those approvals?
Yeah, I mean, I think coordinating at this time with the FAA. So I think in the next few months to as late as summer, you're going to see more and more coming out of the FAA, trying to get airports in line to be in the digital tower program, whether that's through AIP or other funding sources. So as early as possible, coordinate with the FAA, understand their plans for AIP funding and what time frame they're anticipating AIP is going to be important, and going down that route.
Thank you for that update. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, I think we will move on then to item 16, our legislative updates. Dave, I think you'll lead.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple things. So at the state level, as y'all probably know, the legislature convened on the 14th of January. So they're hard at it, I think, mostly focused on budget items, if you've been reading the same news stories that I have. As of this moment, there is not any pending or drafted aviation legislation, other than I do know there is one bill, Senate Bill 26024, that does aim to sort of clarify the restrictions that local governments may or may not put on the operations of UAS. It's not a dog we have a fight in as the division, so we'll pay attention to that, but it's not something that we'll weigh into. But I do know that bill has been introduced, and I think there's a conversation about that tomorrow here as part of that conference. At the federal level, again, unless something changed this morning, I had not seen the FAA is still operating under a continuing resolution through Friday. I understand the House had passed its bill to fund that through the remainder of this fiscal year last week, but I don't think there's been any further action. So if there has been, we'll hear something. But for now, that lets our advocacy resolution, still pushing for full year funding, is still valid. Might not be valid by the end of the week, but always something that we continue to push for, because continuity and certainty of FAA funding is obviously important to all the airports, and it's certainly important to us as we program our money as well. The other, I think, interesting piece of federal legislation that we're certainly following, again, it's not one that we as a division have an engagement with. It's the PAPA bill that the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association is really pushing on. It's the Pilot and Aircraft Privacy Act, and it would do a number of things, but I think most notably, it would prohibit airports from using ADS-B information to levy and collect fees. So again, not something we have a dog in that fight, but I know it's certainly one that the airport community and the pilot community are tracking very closely, and we're certainly paying attention to that conversation as that moves through Congress. It was introduced last year, and it seems like it's getting a little bit of traction. So we'll pay attention to that. So that's it for the legislative update, Madam Chair, unless there's any questions.
Great. Are there any questions or discussion? All right. I think this is one where action is needed, right, Dave?
It is not. The next item, Madam Chair, would be our annual advocacy resolution. And so just as a matter of quick summary, we as state employees do not have the ability to take a specific position on legislation. However, you all as appointees, in consultation with the governor's office who appoints you, are able to take positions that we can then articulate as we go out and say, hey, what's the division's position on FAA reauthorization? Well, we think it's a good idea and the board says so. So the advocacy resolution has really proven over the last decade or so to be a great tool to allow me, as I interface with our legislative liaisons within CDOT, both at the State House and back at Congress, to say, this is what's important to our division and in our board, and here's what we have. What you see for this year is almost the exact same issues that we wrestled with last year. Continued transition to unleaded avgas, continued full funding of FAA. We continue to stand side by side with our airports and working for full funding of the PFAS firefighting foam mitigation funding that was made available under FAA reauthorization in 2024. But the one big change that we have suggested for this year is, given all of the focus and concerns on the Front Range about air traffic and safety and noise, we did add language that would encourage the FAA to be more proactive in engaging with airports and communities as they talk about air traffic issues and air management issues, and also engage airports better as well. So I think that is certainly something that I think we can support, and that's the one highlighted piece that is brand new in this year's advocacy resolution. So I did send this to all of you about 3 weeks ago. Haven't gotten any comments back from any of you. So if you have any now, we're happy to take those and make a final version. But that's the advocacy resolution for 2026 that we would recommend your approval of. Now, how we will use this to the point about Digital Tower, our NASAO legislative conference that we have every year is held a month from this week back in DC. As we've always done, Bill and I will add on a couple of days to that. We will go and meet with the leadership at FAA about Digital Tower, our continued desire to push for that technology, to leverage some of this AIP money. So we have plans on the books to do that. And then we used to try to visit with all of our congressional delegation. That got to be really unwieldy when you're trying to set up 10 meetings over the course of 2 days or 11 meetings. So now we tend to focus just on a couple of key legislators that we'll also visit with, and we will take this advocacy resolution and share that with them and their staffs so they know what's important to us back here in Colorado. And I know not long after we're there in DC, I understand the CAOA crew will be out there, carrying their message, which aligns almost identically with ours as well. So that's really sort of a quick legislative update, Madam Chair, and happy to answer any questions about the resolution.
Thank you. Sorry for jumping ahead and pulling all of these together. And thanks also for sending this out so far in advance so we could all review. Are there any comments or discussion about the resolution?
So I move to accept the 2026 advocacy resolution.
I'll second.
And it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, passes. All right, next, back to you, Dave, to talk about the calendar.
You bet. So looking ahead to our next board meeting, that will be Wednesday, April 15th. That'll be at CDOT headquarters, just south of Mile High Stadium. For those of you that have not been there, that's where we typically do our annual lunch with the Transportation Commission, so we can understand what they're up to. They can understand what we're up to. There is a lot of new people. There are a lot of new people on the TC this year, so that'll be a valuable opportunity for us to do that. We've been a little pressed for time previously, so this time we've got 2 hours blocked for lunch with our board meeting at 2. And then again, that will be our federal match grant hearing will be a part of that as well. And then our next meeting after that will be in conjunction with CAOA in Pueblo sometime between June 10th and 12th. We'll work with CAOA to get a date and time lined out on the calendar. I would ask you if you're interested, y'all wanted field trips. I think I've got a cool one lined up while we're in Pueblo. I don't know if anybody's been down to the Transportation Technology Center that's down there next to the airport. I'm a train nerd. I've always wanted to see this place. They do a lot of railroad research, but they're also starting to branch out into some alternative aircraft technology down there too. And the organization that runs that on behalf of USDOT has reached out and said, we'd love to give you a tour. So if that's something you're interested in the day before, we'll probably have to fit it in the day before. I'll reach out with more details, but flag the 9th if you wouldn't. If you're interested in that, we'll get a tour of what they're doing with transportation research down in Pueblo. It's pretty cool. I know Greg's probably been there. I don't know where Greg is. I'll bet he would love to join us as well. So that's it for the calendar looking forward.
Okay, thank you. And that's not something that we formally adopt, right, Dave?
No, it's just a heads up. You got it.
Great. Okay, I think with that, we are on to item 18. Any other matters Before.
Should be up to public comment now since we
Okay.
punted that to this
I wasn't
point
sure
of the
which
agenda.
last it would be.
Madam
Like
Chair, I
store.
I do understand we have Mr. Brad Walker online who has signed up to offer a comment.
As a reminder, I think we have a 3-minute comment period. Brad, can you hear us okay?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I was in person, but you moved public comments to the end, so I left to go to the office and get some work done. Anyways, Brad Walker, Town Superior. I'm a pilot who uses RMMA. I just wanted to say thanks, a shout out to the Colorado Airport Operators Association for hosting this. It's fun for me to show up in person. I get to learn quite a bit from everyone, all the professionals in the room, and as an airplane geek, I can imagine that those of you that do this professionally, this is a good opportunity to network and meet everyone. I would like to remind the board, we have new members on the board as well as 2 of the appointed committee members. You have been there for a year. I would like to remind the board again, the job of the board is to advocate for aviation statewide, as well as the pilot statewide, and not to be focused on Front Range airports, in particular Rocky Mountain Metro, which I understand has become a renewed focus by certain members, which I fail to understand why that is. But the job of the board is to advocate for aviation statewide, not to focus on one particular board. And lastly, I would say, make sure that you follow the rules. I've always said that at every meeting. I always remind the board, be sure you follow the rules. So, because that's really important, especially when members of the public make open records requests and they get unfulfilled. That could subject the board and the department to some kind of litigation, which no one wants. So again, follow the rules and advocate statewide, and I think everything will be good. I appreciate you taking my comments, and you folks have a happy new year, and thanks again to the association for hosting this. Have a good day.
Thank you, Brad. Sean, are there any other registered public comments?
Madam Chair, we have one here in person, Brittany Davies from BAA.
Great.
I'm gonna head back here just so I don't have to. Good morning. I just wanted to take time to introduce myself. I am Brittany Davies, Director for the Students Association. Colleague Christy Ivy, she was your former director. She stayed on me. She just some of the territories, and I was looking to get state. So I am Colorado City director for. So just wanted to say, I'm happy to be here. Thank you to the Aeronautical Board. Thank you to David's team. Thank you to CAOA. Thanks.
Thank you, Brittany. It's nice to meet you. Anyone else? Okay. So we'll move to item 18. Are there any other matters from any board members that you'd like to raise before we conclude the meeting? Go ahead, Bree.
In the interest of time, I will be quick, and I am sorry that I am beating this matter to death, but it does appear that it needs to be reiterated. We have additional funding for unleaded fuel infrastructure. We have this additional funding for airport monitoring systems. I really encourage all the airports to take full advantage of that. I think that the division has been overly gracious in very clearly communicating deadlines, expectations. We have been very clear about grant assurances, reiterated what the grant assurances are tied to temporary fuel infrastructure. Everything, every question that anybody could have possibly had, I think has been elaborated on very clearly, identified very clearly. We have this money. it's going to waste. Take advantage of it, not just the airports that are identified, but anybody can take advantage of this. I see no reason not to. I see no downside. I just really want to encourage everybody to do that. The reason I'm making a comment right now is this deadline period has been reopened for the unleaded fuel infrastructure for this year. That deadline is March 1st. That's effectively 1 month. So I think we've had a delay in getting those grant applications in last year. A month is a short period of time if you haven't already started on your grant application. So if you are hoping to get into this funding round, get those grant applications in, because we have money that we want to give you and the communities want you to have that money and put that infrastructure into place. So I will stop making these comments when we start getting these grants in. Until then, please, we're doing everything we can to help you. All you have to do is ask.
Thanks, Bree. Any other comments? Okay, I think we will adjourn on time. As many of you know, I sit next to Dylan all year, so I committed to President Heberlein that we would not ruin the schedule this early in the conference. So I think everyone will be around if anyone would like to come and visit afterwards. But thanks so much for everyone attending and participating today. Have a good day.
Perfect. Thank you to the CAB. A lot of great information shared during that meeting. Congratulations to the new board